I remember what I said to Wack was where I had the problem with you at that moment was if one of my people started speaking crazy to you, I would step in and I would handle it. But he said, well, what you're not realizing, Vlad, is that you're not just talking to Ray J and Wack. I'm a Mob Piru general, and Ray J is, a Mob Piru, so he can't tell me to do certain things based on street politics. And I'm like, okay, I get it.
I don't know about Ray J being a Mob Piru. I think that...
That's what he described it on camera.
No, and probably, again, it was probably in the heat of the moment.
Yeah.
Ray J's nothing but just a loving father, a businessman.
I got it.
I always try to approach everybody with respect and kindness. So I think that was where the Mob Piru stuff is where it got a little shaky.
Right.
But I think that we all know that, I'm nothing but a professional and things are being said in the heat of the moment.
From that point, I said to myself, I'm not fucking with Wack. If this is where an argument leads into threats and crazy screaming, I don't need to have any more conversations with him. And it even got to the point where you want to do an interview with me, but I'm like, you still fucking with Wack? I'm not fucking with you.
Yeah, exactly, right.
The whole thing happened. And then maybe about a year and a half ago, I was working on booking Game for an interview. And I expressed that if we're going to do it, Wack is not going to be part of this. And that was fine. We tried to book it. It fell apart. And I said, let me just give Wack a call.
Yeah.
And talk to him.
And just flush it out.
And we got on the phone. And I said, look, we could sit here and argue over what happened 10 years ago. But at the end of the day, you made millions since then. I've made millions since then. And that situation didn't affect anyone's money.
What about me? Did I make anything?
You made millions since then.
I don't know what I made.
Right, you made millions since then. But it was just me and him talking.
That's what I made connections.
Right, exactly.
I haven't made anything.
We laughed it off. He came in, did an interview. We talked about it on camera. And what we said, which we both agreed on, was that because of that situation, if we had just gotten over it back then and worked together over the course of those 10 years, we probably lost about $1 million each by the stance that we both took.
I agree.
Had we just worked it out in a reasonable period of time and worked together over the 10 years, there'd be at least $1 million in our pocket.
But I think that shows the growth and where Cash Jones and Wack100 played a part because, again, Cash Jones and Wack100 are two different people. And I think the Wack100 overshadowed the Cash Jones. I think once he settled into this business, and he understood just what needs to be done as far as due diligence, patience, understanding. Sometimes it might go up, but then you also make the call to bring it back to make it reasonable and make it understandable. I think that's where it's always at, just creating peace.
And you can't just sit there and threaten everybody because at the end of the day, everyone who's really getting it, no one's really a punk.
Exactly,
you got
to understand. But
I may not physically want to get into it with you.
Wack100's defense from back then, he didn't understand that at the time. So all he resorted to was violence in that capacity.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can tell you, I felt bad for some of the homies that I work with today, and I promised them that that'll never happen again. Some of my friends didn't understand how to do it professionally. So they did it another way, and I want them to forgive me. I want them to give me another chance at doing business with them another way. Bringing Wack and the squad in, it was crazy at first because I didn't give a fuck about burning bridges or nothing because I felt like the industry was so tainted that they needed this kind of like understanding of when you say you're going to hit me back or you say you're going to do this deal and you're not doing this deal, that it's an extreme problem. If you don't do that, fast forward it to now, there's always a better way to approach everything.
Yeah. It's like conversations work better.
Absolutely.
Because certain people at the point where you cross the line and say, oh, I'll have you killed or I'm going to fuck you up or whatever, those people just say, all right, well, we're not going to talk again.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna try to one up you. I'm not gonna say, well, I'm gonna call my homies. I'm gonna get my gun. Like, no, professional people don't function in that capacity.
And I think
they'll just stop talking to you.
And guess what? And that's where we all are right now.